Alright guys, welcome back to my ongoing Steven Revisi-Verse series, the series in which we revisit Steven Universe. Shocking, I know. This time we're going back to looking at some episodes, because in case you guys missed it, it isn't super recent at this point, but relatively recently, I did a live stream where we went over some of the old Pink Diamond related theories that I had put out and talked about those, and we do alternate between revisiting my theories and revisiting my thoughts on episodes / the episodes themselves, which means we're back to episodes today with Arcade Mania and Giant Woman, which should be fun. And we're starting with my reviews. Well, we're starting with my review of the first episode, then we're going to revisit the first of those episodes. And I do remember, this is actually an interesting anecdote, I had to kind of struggle to come up with things to say about this episode in the review. I don't dislike Arcade Mania or anything, but I do recall, and I was trying to be very non-negative, like non-critical of the show back at this point when I was making these earlier reviews. I just don't have much of an opinion on this episode at all. So, I don't know how much we have to say about this one. Hopefully more than I originally did, because this review is literally only 4 minutes long. This is before I had an outro, so like it's literally only 4 minutes long. Let's get into it, I guess, right?
Like, this is the episode where we first get like concrete evidence that Garnet isn't like the other gems.
I mean, that's an interesting point. The other gems definitely don't feel like they would have the problem that Garnet does in this episode, where she becomes fixated on a thing. I'm still not sure what they were trying to go for, though, with Garnet's fixation on the arcade game in this episode. Right? It just comes off as kind of weird. Like, we find out she's a fusion after this, right? And the implication seems to be that because she has two minds, and they aren't perfectly in sync with each other all the time, and because one of her powers is future vision, a thing that lets her see into the future quite literally, that disparity between her two minds combined with that ability caused it to activate without her wanting it to activate, and she couldn't stop looking into the future of this game, which meant she couldn't stop playing it. But I'm not sure what they were going for with that. Is this supposed to be analogous to something? It just, I don't know. It doesn't make much sense to me.
They escape, and the gems don't worry about it because they figure they'll probably just leave them alone because they're small and weak.
And see, this is another reason why I don't really have many fond memories of this episode. First of all, how do those things persist after the gem itself, the corrupted gem itself, is not just defeated, but bubbled, but poofed and bubbled, putting it into stasis, if they're extensions of its body? That just doesn't make logical sense based on what we know about gems from later in the series. Like, we see that Hollow Pearl persists when Pearl is poofed at one point, but Pearl wasn't bubbled, too. Her ability to process information, for lack of a better term, was still active. Like, her brain wasn't literally put on standby, like we know happens to gems when they're bubbled, from gems like Peridot and Bismuth, right? And not only that, but one, Garnet being so integral to how the gems fight is only a thing sometimes. It's only a thing when the plot requires it to be a thing. And it was just super irresponsible for them to let these things go, especially in an episode which seems to be alluding to Garnet's future vision. Garnet should have used her future vision to very briefly look into the future and see that these things might become a problem and prepare for it. For that matter, Garnet should have been able to look into the future and see that the arcade would become a problem. Like, I understand, we've seen the way future vision works from when she passed it to Steven. it gets more and more complicated the further into the future you go, and it actually takes, like, mental resources to look through one future after another, right? But we also saw that Steven was able to look into multiple possible futures in, like, a second. It wasn't a lot of them, but it was still more than one for significant lengths of time. So whenever Garnet makes any choice to do anything, she should just briefly look like a day into the future. She should just take a second to look briefly a day into the future and make sure that that specific choice isn't going to cause any negative repercussions. And I get that, like, that could come off as, like, anxious or something, and you don't want to tell people that they should live like constantly worried about everything. But it's, I don't see it that way. I see it more akin to something like looking both ways before you cross the street. She has this extra sense. I feel like she should make use of it. And the show is so inconsistent with when she uses it and how. It just has always bewildered me.
And Garnet, he tries a few games on Garnet, and she just doesn't seem to get the concept of games, I guess. Ends up breaking a bunch of them.
See, I don't get that either. It's not like they don't have video games in the house. That's another thing that confuses me about this episode. How does Garnet not understand the concept of games? Like video games. They have video games in the house, and also she comes from a high-tech society where there were, like, computer displays and stuff. Like, this shouldn't be a difficult concept for her, that the stuff happening on this computerized game is a simulation. Like, she, arguably, depending on how you define gems, is literally a simulation of a humanoid creature. It shouldn't be a difficult concept for her, and that always rubbed me the wrong way, too. It's like they were painting Garnet as dumber than she actually is for the purposes of facilitating the story of this episode. I don't think if there's anything, I don't think there's anything wrong with liking this episode. I know a lot of people like this episode. I know a lot of people consider it a very memorable episode. There was they weren't exactly Legos, but they were Lego-esque. There was a Steven Universe set of those that was Garnet in this episode. I actually own it. It's on, where is it? It's back there on my Steven Universe display now. And she's got the little Meat Beat Mania hams. I think they were supposed to be hams. I don't know. In her hands. And I just don't understand why most people find this episode to be memorable enough that they'd make a toy out of it. I just don't get it. I guess I'm missing something. Also, Meat Beat Mania. Haha. Very funny.
Which is our first hint at Garnet's future vision ability. They don't come right out and say it, but it's clear that the other gems know about it and are referring to that when they are talking about Garnet would have come to save them.
And I appreciate that. I appreciate that they hinted at Garnet's future vision before it was a confirmed thing in the show, right? But again, I definitely feel like this episode portrays more inconsistencies in how future vision works than it does properly foreshadow future vision.
So Steven first tries to beat her at the game, but she's at such a high level that he can't do it.
I do like that. I do like that it looked like it was going to become I have to beat them at this thing kind of thing. Like a Yu-Gi-Oh plot, basically. But then they subverted that. I thought that was actually kind of clever. And then he just breaks the game. He just defaults to breaking the game. Because that's very in line with the kind of stuff that the gems have taught him. Right? Do I mention that at all?
So he just destroys the game. When all else fails, use violence.
Yeah, there you go. And that's basically it. That's basically all I have to say about this one. There were a couple more things in there I could have commented on, but not really. I just don't feel this episode. I'm talking about the episode already and not my thoughts on the episode. We'll get to the episode in a second. I don't know. I feel like you can tell from this review that I didn't have much to say about this one. I mentioned that it's alluding to future vision like 6 frickin' times in here. I don't know. Let's get to the episode real quick. Pull that up. Where do I have the episodes now? Here we go. I moved some stuff around.
This is a stealth mission. You're making too much noise. Take off the jacket.
But I don't want to catch a cold.
Then why are you still wearing sandals?
Okay, that's actually a pretty funny interaction. I'll at least give the episode that much credit.
Stealth.
See, that's the kind of stuff that was funny the first time through, but just stopped being funny after we realized that this slapstick stuff was actually causing him actual bodily harm. Right? There's an example of that, because I know I bring that up a lot, right? I mean, at the very least, this episode does make Garnet look really freaking cool. Like that was really freaking cool. I feel like what they were going for in this one was more that, you know, Garnet's the leader. They need Garnet because she leads them. And it just didn't come across that way. It came across like... And we'll get into this later. Like, the episode will get into this later. I don't know if I'll bring it up again, but the episode will actually get into this later. It really comes across like the episode is saying that the other crystal gems are useless without her.
Welcome to a wonderland of funtronic inventions!
I miss arcades.
Roll the ball into the hole, and you can even win tickets for prizes.
Okay, this sequence where he's pairing them up with exactly the wrong arcade games is still pretty funny. It still holds up as being pretty funny. And he's not being put in mortal peril right now, so, you know, that's a bonus. Why is he still wearing the jacket, though? Could they have stopped by at home? They would have had to have stopped by at home first, wouldn't they? Because they would have had to teleport back to the warp pad in the house. Why does he still have the jacket on? And why is it not making noise anymore, even though he still has it on?
Alright, good luck.
Her face.
Just punch and you'll be fine.
Come on, jump.
See, I just don't buy that Garnet would think that's what he meant there. She's not that stupid.
What happened to Punch? Who did this to you?
I'll see you at home.
So regardless of what criticisms I do have of this one, the comedy is at least on point, for the most part. See what I mean? Pearl's got a spear, and she has, like, superhuman speed and hand-eye coordination and strength and stuff. She could do, like, a spear spin and, like, shield herself from those things as they come at her and blast them apart, right? Or she could shoot them with her laser blasts or something, or summon some hollow pearls to fight, right? Like, I don't know. It feels like they give up so fast. And that they shouldn't have been so immediately overwhelmed, right? I don't know. But, like, straight up, the crystal gems suddenly losing their superior combat abilities to service the plot has been a criticism of this show for literally its entire run, up to and including, like, the movie. So, like, I don't know why this surprises me. Also, did it really launch off that many of them? Where are all of these things coming from?
Prepare your meats.
I have such a dirty mind. So has Garnet been playing this entire time on a single token? Or quarter, or whatever the heck they use here? Wouldn't the game eventually kick her out? Arcade games are meant to make a profit. I thought they eventually kicked you out. I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking too much about this. Maybe I'm thinking too much about Steven Universe. Yeah, maybe I am. Also, the fight going on in the background is pretty freaking funny too. Just FYI. She's a little creepy in this episode too, isn't she?
Steven. Garnet!
Oh, that's cool. She even has the one red and one blue eye already here too. That's cute. I didn't notice that before. She's gonna summon her weapon. Like, well, she's gonna summon Sapphire's weapon. There you go. Alright, that's about all I have to say about that one. I still don't really like that episode. I don't hate it either. It's fine. I just feel like, more thought could have been put into it, and they could have tried harder not to make all of the gems except for Garnet look bad, while also kind of making Garnet look bad. I don't know. I get that it's like they're trying to show how much the others need Garnet, how much they need the full team, right? Well, at the same time, trying to make Garnet seem alien because they're aliens. I just don't feel like it works. I feel like they could have done a better job. Does my phone's silence setting just not work anymore at all? This is like the third video I've made this week where I could have sworn my phone was silenced and then it went off. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Alright, let's get into Giant Woman now, an episode that I know I like more, but one that I'm probably not going to have a lot to say about, because I've already said a lot about this episode. Right? And, what is there to say about this episode? Let's get into my thoughts about it first, right? Including the absolutely cringe opening of this review. God, I've not been looking forward to this one.
All I wanna do is see you turn into a giant woman.
I want to die.
Don't laugh at it too much, please.
Please.
Every time one of them loses a piece, Steven, who is sitting atop, above them on it looked like a lifeboat stand or whatever, and he drops a water balloon on whoever lost the piece, and it's hysterical.
And adorable, too. Amethyst, in particular's reaction is very, very cute.
Because she now knows that they need to find the Heaven and Earth beetles, which are another one of those really weird, crazy, unexplained gem creatures that I really hope we get a follow-up about at some point.
And we didn't. Just turns out they're really, really small gems. And that's it. So what was the purpose in bringing them together at this exact moment? We never find out. Cool.
Trying to get Pearl and Amethyst to fuse into Opal. He really wants to see Opal.
To be clear, I really want to see Opal too. Still my favorite design for a non-regular fusion character in the show. We got criminally too little Opal in the show. Man, Steven is totally on my wavelength in this episode.
Actually, I'm going to do that. From now on, every time Steven gets attacked by a bird, the Steven attacked by bird counter will go up by 1. Let's see, what have we had so far?
Oh, I forgot about that. I forgot I did that. That's so cringy. Why did I do that?
And while he's inside its stomach, he sees all these gems on the inside of its stomach that are actually embedded in the creature. And I have a theory about this, and I'm going to talk about it very, very briefly. I think this creature was a corrupted gem fusion.
Yeah.
Because you never see an external gem, first of all. And then after Opal finally appears, after Pearl and Amethyst do manage to fuse into Opal and pull Steven out of the creature, it becomes so injured that it breaks apart into many, many smaller bird creatures. I think those were its base forms, and that the giant bird was a kind of fusion.
And I still think that. I haven't seen anything that specifically contradicts that yet. That's my best idea for what this thing is and why it functions the way it does.
This episode, I mentioned in the review of the previous episode that I think it's really good, but that I don't think it stacks up with current episodes of the show. This one definitely does.
Yeah, that's true. This is a great episode. This is still, I think, one of the better episodes of the entire series overall. And this is the episode where the show became the semi-musical show that it became, right? Music became such an important part of this show, and I'm fairly certain, at least, that it was always intended to be. But this is the episode where the musical nature of the show really came to the forefront, and that was pretty cool. Now, I already know going into the episode, let's bring it up, exactly what I'm going to have to say about it, and it's not much. So let's just get it over with, because I've talked about the concept in this episode a lot, right?
This way the moves really matter.
But it's checkers. Every single move matters.
This is
Being a sore loser.
This is a very cute
I'm
scene.
not a sore loser. Because I just won the game.
What?
Boom!
Is water just hydrogen and oxygen mashed together? And now we're wasted. Recognize our forms, we can combine into a powerful fusion gem named Opal.
Okay, the terrible video quality is making it hard to see, but that's the scene where we see Pearl literally telekinetically manipulate the sand. And this is one of the two things I knew I was going to want to talk about in this episode. We see her do something like this with clouds later, which has led me to believe that Pearl has very limited telekinetic abilities, that she can't use it on things with a lot of individual mass, but like really loosely packed things where she can control like with a cloud, for example, like I know clouds have a lot, like a cloud has a lot of mass, right? But like she could control like the individual wisps of the cloud separate from one another to form it into new things, right? I don't know. It's very interesting. It's maybe that's something I should do a video about. It would require mathing how much mass a cloud has, though, and that gives me a headache just thinking about it.
I've located the geode beetles of heaven and earth.
Why would she need to locate them? Wouldn't they know where they are? Why would she have to go on an original mission to locate them? That doesn't make sense. Again, I just wish we had gotten more explanation about the stuff surrounding these things. I also like that Steven is chewing on the rock. It's cute in the way that a puppy chewing on a rock is cute, if that makes sense.
The earth beetle is at the bottom of the boiling lava lake, and only I can swim in lava.
Okay, first of all, there's what I think. I didn't anticipate that I want to talk about that. That's what I think their combined weapon is. Sapphire and Ruby's combined weapon is the more durable shades. Also, if she's the only one who could swim in lava, then how is the earth beetle also in the lava? Doesn't really make sense.
Mountain goat.
He's so funny.
I'm never gonna get to see Opal.
And
All I wanna do is see you turn into a giant woman, a giant woman.
I'm not gonna let the whole song play, or else the video is gonna get claimed. It might get claimed anyway. I'll fight it though. It's fine. I still really like the music in the show. The music in this show sounds very good.
Hey, look at that! It's a tiny temple.
Yeah.
It's just where Garnet said it would be.
It's even got a little beetle bedroom, and little beetle bongos, and a little beetle baby book.
And the little beetle bedroom, and the little beetle temple, and the little beetle, what is that, a Sega Genesis, are still things that, again, we never got any explanation for. Where did this come from? Why does it look like this? It's really, really, it's cute. There's a Game Boy there, too. It's cute, but it's stupid. Especially considering how seriously this show started to take its own lore. Like not even soon, like now-ish, right? I don't know. It bugs me. And I have trouble enjoying the episode as much because it bugs me so much.
I can't believe your attitude, Amethyst. And now you're just slouching over here doing nothing. Hey, it's not my fault the beetle isn't there.
Good thing this isn't like Fusion in Dragon Ball Z exactly, where the fusion comes out wrong if they do the dance wrong.
Stop! Come on, guys, please stop fighting. If you can't get along with each other, I might never get to see your awesome fusion power. And I might get eaten.
I do really like the pacing in this episode is really good too. Like, I don't talk about pacing a lot in any of my content, but the pacing in this episode is really good. I'm gonna be sure to include enough clips to justify this, but like, they do such a good job of showing how Pearl and Amethyst, while they can work together, they have trouble complementing each other because they are so different. But I really like that they can when they absolutely need to. And that one of the things that inspires them to do that is their desire to protect Steven. That in that moment, to protect him, they are able to put all their differences aside immediately. Because he wasn't trapped up there very long, and fusion does take a second, right? Yeah, see what I mean? It feels like each one of those is its own gem, right?
Stay low.
Love her voice, too. This music is epic, too. And her attack is so cool. Yeah, gets them all at once. Booyah. Such a badass moment.
Do you know who I am?
All you wanna do is see me turn into
a giant woman.
Such a cool moment, too, because after all of his excitement over seeing Opal, that is a reasonable thing to wonder, right? This is a different person now. Like, they demonstrate so much about how fusion works so quickly and succinctly in this episode, and none of it feels unnatural. They show us that it functions via dance. They show us why sometimes that isn't as easy as it might sound to accomplish. They show us how their weapons work. They show us how much more powerful gems become once they're fused. And they show us that while the fusion may be its own thing, it still has aspects of its components in there. It's all handled just very, very well. This episode's very, very good. But yeah, that's about it. That's about all I want to talk about in this one. I do kind of wonder, though, I think it's worth asking the question, is one of the reasons that Garnet made sure that this mission happened now because she knew that eventually, like relatively soon, in fact, she was going to be revealed as a fusion to Steven, or at least there is a possible future where she would, and he wanted her to understand when that happened what a fusion was, and saw this as a safe opportunity for him to learn. That would be an example of her actually using her future vision for something that I think would be appropriate for her to use it for, right? I don't know. It's an interesting question to ask. I do like both of these episodes. I just feel like, regardless of how funny Arcade Mania can be, and how memorable that image of Garnet with the giant hams can be, like, it's memorable. It has a memorable aesthetic to it, for sure. It's not nearly as good an episode as this one. And Giant Woman at this point is the kind of, like that's the kind of episode I had come to expect from the show at this point, with stuff closer to that. And I think that's why Arcade Mania, I had so much trouble thinking of nice things to say about it at the time. And even now, I still don't love it. I'm kind of indifferent towards it, whereas Giant Woman, I feel, is, truly excellent in terms of its characterization, its pacing, and its world building. All of it is top notch. And I know this isn't like a competition between the two episodes. I don't know. I feel like I need to justify why I was so much more excited to revisit the second of these two episodes than I was the first, I feel like it's not fair to Arcade Mania that I care so much about the episode that it just happens to be sharing a video with. That said, what do you guys think of either of these two episodes that we've revisited today? Do you have any thoughts about them that might be interesting for me to talk about in a future video? Do you think I should make that video theorizing about Pearl's limited general telekinetic powers that she may or may not have? Let's get a discussion going in the comments section down below. And while you're down there, you might as well like the video, share it with anyone else you think would enjoy my content, subscribe if you haven't. You can also find out links to various ways you can help out the channel down in the video description. And I don't do this a lot, but I'm going through some financial issues right now, and more so than ever, if any of you have ever wanted to contribute to the channel, this would be the time to do it, so please look into those options if you can. No pressure, only help out if you can, obviously, but if you can, I'd really appreciate it. Either way, though, this has been AJ22, and I will talk to you guys later.